What's going on, everybody? Doesn't it feel like Christmas morning whenever there's a card show? Doesn't matter if it's a huge show. Well, it does matter how how excited we are if it's a huge show or a local show. But every card show day feels like Christmas morning to me. This morning, I am going to hit up our local vintage card show. Well, it's not technically a vintage card show, but there's so much vintage at this show, you might as well call it a vintage card show. So my daughter has a game at noon and the doors open at 9. So I'm going to get there right when it opens. I'm going to spend as long as I can, probably going to be about 2.5 hours in there. And then I'm going to race off to the soccer game. So it's a bummer that the time of the game turned out like it did, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead, take the quick drive, about 30 minutes, hit up the show, see what I can do, see what I can find, see who I can meet, and then head over to the soccer game.
All right, so in I go. In the first table I hit, look at all these Willie Mays cards, Mickey Mantle cards, Hank Aaron's, Clemente's. This case was loaded with good stuff. Couple caught my eye right off the bat. Those 53 Topps cards in the middle there really intrigued me. And the 50 Bowmans as well. So I took a look at the Bob Feller. So this is a 1953 Bob Feller in a 1.5, no creases. And the color looks awesome on it. The clarity looks awesome on it. Asking $65. And then this 56 Eddie Matthews was asking $80. Really well centered. Another really nice looking card for the grade. Now that Feller I think has a little stain, but it's hard to see. And then we got this 53 Pee Wee Reese in a 3.5. He's asking $150, which I think is fair. Really, really well centered. So these three cards I saw in the first case I looked at and was super interested in all three. So I gave them back and like those a lot. Put those in my memory bank. Now this is at Scott, his table, Thrill Valley Card Company. I always look forward to seeing his table. He's always got great stuff. So then I started looking through these kind of autographs, but they're kind of the legends. He got like Elvin Hayes there. There was a Walt Frazier earlier. So he's always got a good variety of vintage and modern. Another Issel. And when you look at that stack of cards, you're just like, some big names there, but they're modern cards with vintage autos, which is right up my alley on stuff that I look for. You'll see there are several more as we keep moving through. Here's a dual auto one. That one had Chris Mullen on it. And growing up in Northern California, I always liked Chris Mullen, a dream teamer. So I keep on looking through these. Hadn't seen Scott at a show in a while, so whenever it's been a while, he's got lots of new inventory. There's an Elvin Hayes. I mean, again, lots of Hall of Famers in here. And these are all in the $50 or so range. And Scott I know, so I know he's always willing to work with Jerry Lucas. Look at that. And Wilkins, again, really good stuff. But he's always willing to come off his price a little bit. So I always know that there's a little bit of room in there if I were to grab something from him.
So do you share a table at the National?
And I'm talking to him. He went to the National this year, which he ended up with his own booth and had a lot of deals. So he turned over a lot of his cards and stuff at a recent show in Fairfield, which there's a new one coming up I'm looking forward to the end of the month. And then he replenished, and then he went to the National, and then he was off buying a lot more for that. And tons of stuff turned over. We got a couple of Dave Winfields here. I'm a Yankee guy, so Dave Winfield cards are always going to catch my eye. Too bad he's in a Twins uniform for me as a Yankee fan. If they were Yankee ones, I might have pulled the trigger there. A couple Dave Parkers, who I think has a chance at making the Hall of Fame at some point. There was a Steve Carlton autograph on a bat. Now, I mean, Steve Carlton, one of the best left-handed pitchers ever. You'll see here in a second, he's got another Carlton autograph in there. This one's pretty cool. I take a closer look at. It's got the silver autograph on the black. $40. I mean, that's one of the really cool things about modern cards to me is I'm not so much into modern cards, but I'm into vintage autographs, vintage guys on modern cards. And then you got relics like this. I mean, you got a Rogers Hornsby relic card in a box of modern cards, which is pretty cool. Got a Necro autograph and Molitor and Rod Carew. You know, these are all in the $50 range. And then he's showing me one of his big pickups recently. Check out this Michael Jordan autograph card. $12,500. It's a upper deck card that was in a hockey packs that this card came out of. It's a Sidney Crosby set or something he was saying. So you know, he's always got a lot of graded stuff, but then he has a lot of ungraded stuff. And that's one of the cool things I like about Scott's table. You can see you got a Thurman Munson, a Bob Gibson, another Munson, you know, Aparicio, Kaline, and you know, these aren't like super high-end condition. They're probably not gradable cards, but you know, as a collector who wants to collect some of these guys, they're nice cards. Got a Nellie Fox All-Star card there. You got a Marichal and a McCovey. So it's super fun going to the Sacramento show because there's really a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
You know, you'll have some ungraded mid-condition stuff like this of just, you know, solid player after solid player, Hall of Famer or close to it after another. And then, you know, you also have cases where you'll see everything from modern stuff, like a Michael Jordan autograph, to, you know, a bunch of Mantles and Mazes and Clementes like I was looking at a second ago. So I'll keep on going through this box. Again, all of this inventory is new since the last time that I saw him at a show. And so you never know what kind of gold is in there. You know, there's a cool Marichal card. There's a Hoyt Wilhelm. And that's the thing I love about digging through these boxes like this. And that's one of the reasons I think going through eBay and digging, because there's finds there too. It doesn't just have to be at a show that you find value boxes like this. If you go on eBay and you change the filters to, I don't know, under $30, and you look at, you know, a few sets or a few years that you're interested in, put in some keywords, there are great deals online that slip through the cracks, just like there are value boxes at shows like this.
It was fun because we just like I saw
Had some 54s and 53s in there.
high-end stuff.
It's from the draft. They were all in the same draft.
So again, it's always fun to catch up with Scott. So we're talking quite a bit as I'm going through these cards. I got a Frank Robinson and a Carlton. Again, I'm having as much fun just talking with dealers and other collectors as I am looking through the cards.
Yeah. And I remember Will Clark calling into
Again, I got a
talking about it.
70 Marichal again. You got a ERA leaders card with some of the all-time best pitchers on it. We went through a little stretch here of stuff. It's not really my cup of tea, so I just kind of fingered through it a little bit faster than that first group of stuff was more my sort of thing. So that's what I do here. I go, okay, this is more my kind of line. So I start going through. You got a Yastrzemski and a Brett and another McCovey. Pretty impressive to be able to grab stuff like this. And the other thing about a box like this that I really recommend. The reason they're worth digging through is because, you know, we're looking at a lot of $8, $5, $10, $12, $15 cards, but you don't have to pay for shipping, which is anywhere from a couple bucks to $5. You don't have to pay tax, which is, you know, a buck or two. When you're talking about like a $10 card, if you're paying $2 or $3 for shipping and then a buck for tax, that's a lot of the value of the card. So I kept on moving, and I got to this table. This is such a nice dealer, this guy. I've met him and talked with him a few times. He has some really cool boxing cards. And I really like vintage boxing. And we're talking about, he's telling me how much he loves boxing cards. And so I take a closer look at a couple of them.
I mean, I have it listed at 5, but
And we got Joe Louis here. Most people say this is Joe Louis's rookie card. And look at the centering on that thing, the eye appeal on that thing. And you got this Cassius Clay. Now, this is a little off center, but it's a 2. It's got a little bit of marking on the back. But it's an older
Cool.
Cassius Clay.
you know, I like this card.
And then a rookie Joe Louis.
Your booth.
I really enjoy running into him and talking to him at shows, and you can hear us talking again. Sorry about all the conversations I'm having in the background, but I just can't help myself at times. So he's got a Muhammad Ali autograph and hand numbered. This came out of a classic set. They did a release of Muhammad Ali autographs.
Yeah, exactly.
He's showing me this card. Look at this leader card. Mays, Aaron, Clemente. Awesome card.
How much is this John L. Sullivan?
This John L. Sullivan card comes from that ringside set, and it's not super expensive. It's not a super expensive card. This isn't a 1, but it is well centered, so I liked the eye appeal, so I took a look at that one. Those are very affordable. If you're interested in getting into vintage boxing, these ringside cards are a good entry level point to go into.
Isn't that funny how that works?
So he's showing me this guy that was his favorite boxer of all time. But again, whenever I'm talking to these guys, I could get myself caught spending a lot of time because it's fun, and then I'm remembering, oh wait, I'm only going to be here for a couple hours because of the soccer game. So he had these exhibit boxing cards. These ones are like 40s, 50s, 60s. There's a wide range of time that exhibits were manufactured, so you don't really know the date. It's more of a range. You can see there's that Sugar Ray Robinson on the top. And then I keep going through them, and you know, there's a couple other big names in here. You can see as I'm flipping through them. And then he ends up giving me that one just as a nice gift. He just gave me that one. And it got this Joe Louis, and that's so cool. They obviously, most of them have blank backs. And, yeah, it's just really, really cool. Really enjoyed looking at those. If you haven't gotten a chance to subscribe to my channel, I hope you will. So I kept on moving along, and here are a bunch of ungraded cards. Some really cool 55s, 56s. There's some 54s, 53 Bowman colors. 52 Topps Warren Spahn over to the right. I love that card. Really cool stuff. Again, none of these were graded. And then this next dealer's case had a lot of graded stuff. So I'm taking a look here. Some cool Clementes. That Banks rookie, you know I like that. And then the 72 Clemente and the 62 Koufax caught my eye. So I decided to take a look. This is a 5.5 SGC 5.5 Clemente in a 72, which is my favorite looking Clemente card. He wanted $60, which quite frankly was probably a fair deal. Pretty well centered. I've always wanted this card. It's on my list.
too.
And I'm always looking for pitchers. I think pitchers are underappreciated and undervalued. So whenever I could pick up like a Koufax, so this is a 62 Koufax and a 6. He's asking 210, which also seems like a fair deal to me. So give this one a good look over. My wheels are kind of turning about a package, maybe. I don't know. Definitely interested. So I put those back for now. And I moved over to his box and I start going through these, and he's got some T206s and T205s. But then most of them don't have prices on them. And I hate doing the whole ask for the price thing. So I'm usually kind of turned away when the prices aren't already on the cards. So his case had prices, but this box didn't. So, got some 48 Bowmans in there. A lot of stuff that I like, but they were mostly commons. There's a few names in there, minor stars and stuff, but most of his high-end stuff was in the case. Again, I'm just kind of flipping through here quickly. Now, if they all had prices on them, I probably would have gone through every one. But again, most of them are commons and minor stars. So I kept on moving. Went over to this table, and he's always got really nice stuff. But prices were a little high, I thought. Got some real nice cards there. I love the looks of those, regardless of who it is. We got nice Jackie Robinsons and some Ted Williamses and really good stuff. Got the 50 Bowmans there on the bottom, the 48, 49 Leafs across the middle. Got some play ball cards on the right there. Baseball stars in there. Got the Gaudies up at the top. I love the Carl Hubble. That's the 40 or the 34 Carl Hubble. 34 Eddie Collins that up at the top left corner we just saw. And some really good stuff here. At the 52 Topps Ashburn and Robin Roberts. I really like the looks of those two. Always have. They're on my list of cards I'd like to get, but his price seemed a little high for me. Still fun to look at them. Got an early win over there on the right. I zeroed in it. That Johnny Mize, also a really cool card. The 52 Topps Mize in landscape on the sideways. Kept on moving through. Got some 53 Bowman colors there. And 58 Killebrew on the left is a cool card. And you got some stuff in the 60. Oh, there's a 56. Look at that. You got a 55 and 56 Clemente. Love those. And that Eddie Matthews 58 that I like a lot. A lot of good stuff there. So I started talking to my buddy Wayne. And he had a 57 Topps mantle that I hadn't seen yet. I started talking to him about it. He said he picked this up at the National. He had a table at the National as well, and he bought this. And it looked super sharp.
How long have you had this card?
You know, regardless of who I'm buying it from, when you start talking about spending big money on an ungraded card, I
remember it.
I don't know. For me, anything over about $300 or so, I kind of want it graded. Just because, I don't know, it just seems like you should. There's a really nice Jim Brown rookie in a 5. It's gorgeous. This dealer has some great stuff. That Marichal rookie. 54 Bowman Whitey Ford on the left. Some really pretty cards in this case. This particular dealer always seems to have well-centered cards. Got the Dion rookie signed. That card's been on fire lately because of everything he's been doing at Colorado. So I'm talking to my buddy who I've shown before, and we're just talking about how much we love the Monty Irvin 52 Tops card. I think I found the other person who loves that card as much as me. He has about 4 of them. And we had a lot of fun catching up, as we always do. He's got some great stuff. But man, that 52 Tops Monty Irvin card is a really good looking card. And that one is like perfectly centered. Love that card. Great running into him. So I kept thinking about these exhibit cards, these boxing exhibit cards. So I went back over, and there were a few I said, I want to take another look at them. Some of them had some damage, a little bit of water, color damage, but none of them were creased. They were all uncreased, and the Joe Louis especially was the one that was most on my mind. So I said, I wonder what he wants for these, because he didn't have them priced. And again, I don't really like going through the pricing thing, but this guy is such a nice dealer. I'm like, all right, I'll check and see what he wants for these. So I pulled out some of the bigger names just to get an idea. The exhibit cards have really grown on me. I like them more and more all the time in all sports, not just boxing, obviously, baseball as well.
Right.
So I kind of put my little pile together, and then I went over to see what he wanted.
And how do you break them down?
So he had quoted me a
I just
price.
threw it out there, 200.
Oh,
He threw out $200 for the
Okay.
3 of them,
because that's the one I like the most.
but the one I
That's the one
really
I'm
wanted
most
was this Joe
interested in.
Louis.
But again, I don't.
So hear us talk here.
I'll tell you what. See, the way I
It's
kind
a
of
little.
just threw this guy in. Okay, if you want that one, I'll let that one go for 60.
$60.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that for $60.
So I thought that was a fair deal. So first deal of the day here, $60 for that Joe Louis Exhibits card. I think it's a fair price. I looked it up later, and one went for $90 that I think was a little nicer than the one that I bought. So I think $60 was fair. So here's a good look at it. There's a little bit of color damage at the top, but again, there's no creasing on it. And it's Joe Louis. I mean, you can see the little bit of water damage. No creasing, clean card that way. I just think it's such a cool pose. Again, a clean back. So, again, pretty fair deal. Might be worth a little more than that if I were to try to sell it, which that's not the plan. And then here's the one he gave to me for free just because he's a nice guy. He gave this actually to me the first time I was over at his table. It's a pretty card. Little bit of damage at the top right, but again, doesn't bother me as a collector at all. No creases, nothing crazy like that. So here's a good look at it. Again, Joe Louis, one of the best boxers ever. I love the gloves, the black gloves in the picture, kind of smaller than we're used to. Super cool. And look at his arms. That guy's a beast.
All right, let me look at the feller again.
So I went over back to my guy Scott and said, let me look at your feller. I like this card. He's asking $65.
Can I look at your Mickey Mantle, the white back, the PSA 2 right there, sir?
So I take a better look again. It's a 1.5, no creases. There's a little staining at the bottom right of it, but you can hardly see it with the color of the card. I think that's why I got the 1.5. So I'm really thinking on it. I just think it's got such a pretty image. So then I went back over to the guy who had that Clemente that I liked a lot, because I was getting low on time at this point.
How you doing? Good. Still thinking about your Clemente. Let me take one more look at it, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Yeah, we had a couple guys we know that got into it without any. They're like, and I guess it's the same thing as this, right? Like,
Did you do 50 on it?
Let's see.
So I asked him if he'd do 50. I think 60 is fair, but, you know, here's a recent comp of a 5 at 65.
No problem.
So this is a 5.5 that he's asking 60 for. So, I mean, and again, I think it's really well centered. Here's another recent comp at 65.27 of a 5. That one was about a month ago.
Cards. I have a few of those myself.
Thank you.
And so he's looking it up. He's seeing if he wants to go down to 50 or not. And then here's another comp. This one went best offer, and it was a 5.5. The other ones were 5s. Again, 60 is a fair price, but hey, got to at least try to get a deal, right? So I'm pretty firm on my 50, but we'll see how he comes back, you know, as I keep kind of looking over his table, and he's comping it out himself. So here we go with the negotiation.
You do 55.
I think I got to stay at 50, but I understand if you want to keep it.
All right, let's do 50.
50?
So I was super happy with that deal at $50. Again, I think it's worth probably 65. But, you know, if you're not getting a deal, then there's other deals in the room. I might as well spend my money on the other deals. So my plan was to try to spend about $150 or so today, and at this point I'm at 110 with my 2 purchases. So here's a better look at it. Again, it's an SGC 5.5. It's very well centered. It's not perfectly centered. A little off top to bottom, which I think is the main reason it didn't get a higher grade of like a 6.5 even, maybe even a 7 if it was, you know, side to side barely off, top to bottom a little bit off. But the corners are pretty nice, and it's a super clean surface. So here's the back. The back is like perfectly centered. And so another look at the front. I just love this card. I've wanted this card for a long time. It's been on my list for a long time. So here's a better look at it. Again, a nice card. It's a little bit of right edge damage, which is, you know, it's still a nice card. But I went back for the Feller.
So what's the friends and family price on the Feller? That's right. Hold on. I'm trying to get him to hook me up with the friends and family price.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is there's no comps. I looked it up.
Okay.
The raw ones go for quite a bit less.
Okay.
But and it's got a little. I'm not trying to beat the card up,
you
but
are.
I am a little bit. But I like the card. I like it. So
What do you want to pay me? As long as it starts with a 5, you won't beat me up.
Oh,
If it starts
okay.
with something other than a 5, then we
Okay.
might need to thumb wrestle.
Okay, thumb wrestle for it. I'm not good at that, so
I'm
I do
professional thumb wrestler.
I do 50, and I think that's super fair. Is that cool? All right.
All right, so another deal. I really like the looks of this card, and I love buying something off of Scott. He's such a cool guy. I always look forward to seeing him. So I give him my $50, and here is a really cool-looking card. You know, 53 tops Bob Feller. So again, paid $50 for it. It's hard to comp a card like this because when you get into the lower grades, it's all about what it looks like to you, and to me, this looks great. So, you know, I thought $50 was fair. The back is pretty nice. Top right corner's seen better days, but, you know, all the way around, it's got really good color and really well centered. And I just, you know, there's not a crease on it. It seemed like a tough grade to me. If it was a tops, it probably would have gotten a stain designation, but on the bottom right there's just a little bit of discoloration. Other than that, I think it's a beautiful card and $50. So I was thrilled with this purchase. And here's again a look at it. Look at how clear that is. Beautiful card. And then I started going through this box, and I was getting really low on time at this point. The soccer game was closing in on me quickly, and I didn't want to be late. I really didn't want to be late. By the way, Lucy's game went well this weekend. Team scored 5 goals, and she had 3 of them and 2 assists, so she had a good game. And yeah, I mean, again, I love the value bins because you just never know what you're going to find. Could be a hidden deal. There's another feller. But I knew I was on the clock at this point, so I started going through them, and I'm like, I don't think I have time to go through this whole box, so I just grabbed one last stack before I head out. Got some cool Bowmans in there. There's a little of everything in this box. And we had some T206s, 61 tops, Bob Gibson, little of everything. Bowman colors. Now this is variety, if I've ever seen it. And that was about it, and that was it for the show as I had to take off. A fun show. I love looking forward to my card shows. They are Christmas morning for me.